I think that my relationship with my culture is really strong because it's actually what got me into art in the first place.
My relationship with my culture is highly influenced by my art because it's what I grew up with, it's all I know.
I'm really proud of who I am as a Chinese person. I feel really connected to my culture because basically everything I do has to do with me as a Chinese person.
There's this festival called Diwali, and in that you make these art forms called rangoli out of chalk, and the art forms are really cultural. They're kind of like mandala designs, and kind of making those with chalk on my sidewalk just got me into art in the first place.
I started with Chinese dance. I started at 4 and now I'm 16 and I'm still dancing.
I was always born into Aztec dancing. My mom's an Aztec firekeeper and dancer, and with that, I was able to evolve my dancing into being a drummer in my dance circle.
I remember like getting into it the summer of 6th grade. It was like, whoa, Seven Nation Army, you know, your typical song, boom, 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 boom. And I was like, just building in this like ambition and fire in me that I really wanted to get my hands on the guitar and just find my thing since I can remember.
The dance that I do usually is traditional Chinese dance. It's 中国舞蹈, and it involves a ton of like flexibility, grace. It's a very niche expression, and it's just totally different from what I'm doing right now at CSSSA.
Sometimes I like to incorporate like some things of my like the Mexican culture into my art, like the florals and the patterns that you would often see in like decorations. Here in CSSSA, they mostly expect you, while in the painting part of visual arts department, they mostly expect you to do like realism, and my like art form kind of strays away from that.
Where I dance here, I have to explain and I have to re-indigify other people's minds because it can be difficult learning from a Western ideal.
A lot of like the references we're given for animation are like Snow White or like Bambi. They're really classic like Western animation examples, but what my art originally drew from was these Eastern rangolis I talked about earlier from my like homeland and from my grandma specifically.
Begged my mom for a guitar even though she kind of like tried to like avoid it only because it wasn't what she wanted, but you know, they support you and they hold it down for you.
Sometimes my dad would like give me constructive criticism, but I think that's just his way like of encouraging. They don't really know how to compliment, but that's their way of complimenting me.
Being an immigrant, it's like really hard to see your kid go into something you don't think will be profitable, because I feel like a lot of like immigrant families who came to this country, they're always like, oh, like we want our kids to make money first, like achieve the American dream, or their version, which is like to have like a stable job, a stable like life. And so it's kind of frustrating for them, but I think it's really great that like despite their like notions, they still like try to support my art and try to support my animation and my like dreams.
I think being a US citizen, my cultures aren't emerged together just because I come from the most oppressed population. And I feel with that, there's still a lot of learning for people to do, a lot of decolonialism that needs to happen.
I don't really like incorporating like the US or like American culture in my art because I try to like stray away from that. It's just like as a person from like Mexican descent, I don't feel like I should, I don't know, I don't really claim that part of me. Kind of like a form of protest, if you would like to think of it like that.
But I think bringing elements and visuals from my Eastern culture into that like traditionally Western art form is a really interesting overlap that represents who I am as a person.
I think I connect my culture with my art just by existing today. There's been a lot of people who ask, oh, there's still indigenous people who are still alive. I feel like it's such a comment that just runs through my mind. Like, we still are here, but I'm glad that I'm able to carry that lineage here in my art.
I think it's important to have a cultural influence in your art because it's what your ancestors have kind of been building along to make you you. So Everyone should have their own little, piece of art form. And if you don't, it's okay. That's you as well.
I think it's important so that you don't forget like where you come from or your background, and so that other people around you could see like who you are and where you're from.
I just love that I'm able to share my culture through my art form to anyone who's curious, who wants to learn about who we are. So I just think that's so important because it really contributes to the diversity and like how vibrant this whole world is, really.